Welcome back to another video. This is the long-awaited sequel to my original RF video, and here she is, NLE679. Now Colin's taking the old bus out today, so he said come on over and do yourself another video. And he's going to show me around his garage, as well as I'm going to follow the bus around on its little tour today. He's still got his cuddly toys inside, look. Oh, it's looking good, it's looking in tip-top condition. Anyway, let's go and find Colin and to see what he's been up to and what the plans are for today. Hey Colin!
Oh, hello!
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, back again, eh?
How's it been going?
Very good. Yes, working hard.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
Show me what you've got.
Let's walk around. Welcome to the bus garage.
Wow, look at this. Classic cars and buses.
This is where the Regal lives, in this slot here.
The RF.
That's it. The RF lives here.
Because I'm
You understand now. Yes.
a little bit more than I did.
I'll just walk you around the garage just to give you a quick view of what's here and a bit of history about some of the vehicles that are going on here.
Yeah, I didn't realise you had two other buses here.
Yes, yeah, hiding away, waiting to be repaired, at various stages of repair. So we'll walk across there. But first of all, this is the spare engine that arrived a couple of months ago for the Regal. We're rebuilding it at the moment, and you can see we've got the heads off here. You can see that the pistons are exposed. They're all nicely oiled up so they don't get rusty. And I've got a repaired front spring for the Regal as well. So
is the other one actually on its way out?
It's fine. It's fine at the moment, but they do suffer from road obstructions.
With their age and everything.
Yeah, yeah. These were inside here, so I've got a spare one, so that if we do need it, we can replace it. But come on through. There's been some restoration of bus stops going on, as you noticed up the front there.
Yeah.
There's a couple more. These were in a pretty poor state, and being that they're stove enamelled, you just can't rub them down and repaint them. So you have to repair what you've got, and you do that by filling in the holes with an enamel paint, and you build up the paint gradually. And over time, where it's lighter than the original stop, that will darken off, and where it's darker, it will lighten off. So
I can see those little white patches there.
Yeah, those little white patches designate the route number that you would stop at these bus stops, and I've just put those on.
Just around the red.
Oh right, yes,
tiny little spots of white.
That's it. That's where, unfortunately, it's been peppered by air guns and various things like that, as they would have done when they were.
Or even just grit and stuff?
Well, stones could do that, but it was more or less people throwing stones at them that caused the problem. So, a lovely relic of times of the 1950s, really. That bus stop would have been late 40s up and right up to the 80s. Would still see some of those around, especially in the country area. But as you can see, there's a request stop, and that's a compulsory stop. So you would have to hail the bus for the request stop, and with the other one, in theory, it should stop. But let's move on, shall we? This is a Guy Special, a 26-seater bus that would have been used for the country area. Narrow country lanes, specifically designed for narrow country lanes. This had a crash gearbox. And one of the features of this gearbox was that you could go 15, 20 miles an hour still in fourth gear without having to change, and it would pick up again quite comfortably with a full load. So it was a pretty unique bus in that sense. It replaced some earlier Leyland Cubs built during the 1930s, but this is in fact built in 1953 to replace the Cubs, the Leyland Cubs, and the fact that they built 84 of them meant that they were able to replace not only all the Cubs, but start a one-man replacement as well for some of the buses that were currently conductor operated. It turned out they didn't need the whole of the 84, but...
But 84 buses around the UK or just for the South East, just for London?
Just for London Transport's country area, yeah. So we're at the stage at the moment where we're restoring the back end. As you can see, a lot of the metalwork here has been replaced. The springs have been recalibrated and put back on, and the hubs have been done, and now the brakes will go back, and the new shock absorbers, which is right behind you.
Are you doing that on all four sides, or is it...
That's been done on the front. I've just got to do the other side. This side tends to be the worst for wear because it's curbside and also pothole side. So, you know, rain would collect and throw up. So it was in a pretty poor state. And yes, it did need to be replaced. So it was a case of just getting stuck into it. It's got to, again, got to have the window rubbers done. And the panels, some of the panels taken off and replaced.
And in terms of refurbishing it and repainting the surface, you don't have to sand it all down and everything?
No, it's best, personal preference, but I find it best not to sand it down if it doesn't need it. It's aluminium, the majority of it. There is some steel on the corners, but it's aluminium. If you sand it down, you get horrible grooves that you then got to fill out again. So I tend to do a very light rub down and see how that looks. And if I need to go deeper, I will do, but that's how it works. So this is going to be another 2 years before it's on the road. The engine has all been put back together, completed. Okay, there goes a screwdriver. Shows it's live, folks. That will all be cleaned off. The chassis has all been cleaned off and repaired. These were all bent and been put back. There's been some welding done on some of the front end here, but all the wheel hubs have all been done inside there. You can probably see that. Just come round and have a look there. Yes, look.
It's looking amazing.
So it's yeah, but a bit more tender loving care, and hopefully we'll be there.
And this would have like a nose front with fenders and headlights and all that kind of stuff?
It would do, yes. Unfortunately, the actual bonnet is not with me. It's up in the workshop, so that's under repair at this moment. But it should all be cleaned off. There's no point in cleaning it at the moment while I'm working underneath. It just get more dusty.
So this is GS55. It's pretty much like the RF679, isn't it? It's got its identification.
MXX355 would be the registration. So.
Oh, you know that? Well, you knew that anyway, didn't you?
They don't all follow with the sequence of the registrations, but a lot of them do. And if you're a London Transport fan, you will know the ones that do and the ones that don't. So it's kind of a trait of London Transport.
Really short bus as well.
26 seats, this one. Yes. No standing on the top deck, as they used to say. Okay. Right, now we come on to a pretty different, very different vehicle. Shall we go back round the other side?
Okay. To show me.
Yeah. Right, this bus has been completely restored from top to bottom.
Wow.
And at the moment, it's suffering from a trait that London Transport knew about, which we now found out, which is head gaskets. It's going to have the head gaskets replaced under here. So we're preparing at the moment to take off the heads. So we've got to the stage where we've taken off what they call the dead man's rail, or dead dog's rail. Yep. And we're going to take those off so that we get to something like that stage there where we expose the pistons, and then we'll be able to replace the head gaskets and check the alignment of the heads to make sure they're not warped, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they aren't. That's another big job in itself. But this is a really unusual bus in the sense it's one of 3 for London Transport, ordered off the back of Grimsby Cleethorpes 30 odd buses. They had exactly the same. Apart from the LT specification inside and a few bits and pieces which are typically LT, London Transport, which is the garage identification plates and the number at the front. And one unique factor is the skylights, which was another feature of London Transport's tours buses. But this was a standard bus, so it was quite unusual. Shall we go and have a look inside? And I'll tell you a bit more about it. Feature. why did LT get these? They wanted to do an experiment on two-door operation, and an opportunity has arose, as I said, with the Grimsby Cleethorpes buses, which were identical, to have 3 extra built on the end of that production line. And you can now see the 2 entrances here. I don't know if you want to come a little bit forward. That's it. So people would end up, it sounds pretty obvious, but for the country area it wasn't, because as you realise most of the buses were 2-man operated.
Okay.
So the idea of this, that it could be 2-man operated and 1 person operated, had the option of doing that. People would enter by the front and they'd leave by the centre doors. Now, you've got to educate people to do that over a period of time. So this experiment was a 3-year experiment of various places in the country area.
With only 3 buses, though?
With only 3 buses, yeah. Reigate, Stevenage, Hertford, Hemel Hempstead, St Albans, okay, and Addleston were the places that they were stationed up for. Over
all the rural locations? All
the rural locations. Now, one of the reasons, apart from the engine frailties, it's a 7.7, which is absolutely perfect for this bus. It's a very lightweight bus originally, so this would have been a perfect engine. The trait of having inline is that you can suffer from overheating.
Okay.
But the other good point about it is, wow, look, you can see I can work on that. I haven't got to get underneath to get some of these things out, like the fuel pump and the compressor, to name a few. The gearbox sits at the back there. The majority of these parts, because it was built in 1960, 59-60, they tried to make it compatible with existing vehicles they had on them. The main vehicle they had around that time was Routemaster. So some of these parts are Routemaster, mechanical parts are Routemaster. So that made it kind of sensible to trial that, whether it would go into the production line for recertification and rebuilding and repainting in the normal way that LT did their vehicles through Aldenham and Chiswick. The experiment was deemed to be not so much of a success as they first thought, because passengers in the country area would enter from a designated bus stop, which would have paving there normally, have paving. Okay. So how do you alight? Well, you're alighting into a load of bushes. So the bus would have to double up. So we'd have to get people on and then move to the bus stop to
let the other people off.
Yeah, but the councils weren't prepared to double up on the arrangements for the bus stop. So that's one of the reasons why London Transport sort of moved away from that.
And was that simply because it was a trial process being operated by the bus company, and they only had 3 buses anyway, so why would the council spend a lot of money?
Exactly. I mean, I think that if it'd been at that particular point in time, if there'd been a real rush to get 1-man operation in, they would have pushed it forward with the council.
This bus is bigger than the RF, though, right?
It's bigger than the RF. It seats more.
A greater capacity for passengers, but standing as well.
And standing passengers as well, yeah. But it was an interim solution. It wasn't quite as good as the double decks, but it was better than the current single decks. So it would have helped the capacity. And I would imagine if it turned into 1-man operation, you would have had to have more vehicles, but that wouldn't have been an issue versus having a 2-man operation. So this is quite unique, and it's a lovely vehicle to drive. It's wider than the Regal, the RF that you've seen. And we'll take a quick look at what's in here. So it's got a virtually automatic gearbox.
Is this the...
That's the gear selection sequence, when it's got a light to come on to tell you when the air's up for the operation of the gearbox.
I will just add for my viewers, I know nothing about buses, so don't leave a comment saying, oh, you should have known that.
There's not many people who are going to know the intricacies of this particular vehicle, and I must admit I've learnt a lot since we've owned it, so it's not a case of I knew a lot when we got it, but over time we've learned a lot about it. Okay. One of the other things was the operation of the doors. You can see it's not complicated, but there's a lot to do when you get to a bus stop, so the driver would have a lot more to do, and he used to rely on the conductor to usher passengers on and off. And you've got the added centre exit,
Yes,
so
of
it was
course.
just a little bit more to do, as well as taking fares.
Beyond my pay grade. I can't do it.
There would have been a big step change to integrate these into the fleet.
Okay. But it's looking a lot more modern than the RF.
Yes, and that's one of the features. Still very provincial AEC solution,
Yeah.
that because it was Grimsby Cleethorpes bus really, just added onto their production line. So it's just a standard AEC.
So
bus
who
rather than like-
makes the RF? Is that AEC as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, same AEC. But there was a lot more design consultancy with the RF and the Guy as well that you've just seen.
Yeah.
So more London Transport specification. As experimental vehicles, obviously there wasn't that integration, otherwise it put the cost up.
Yeah, of course.
They just took the opportunity to physically trial a specific feature that they thought they might want to go to in the future.
When are you thinking that this might go on the road? How much work is left?
August.
Oh, really? As soon as that?
Yeah, I mean, that is the main thing that is wrong with it.
So all the bodywork's done, the engine's working, the aesthetics of the interior are all done. It's just ready for you to...
Yep, just solve the head problem, which seems on the face of it a daunting task, but it's not too bad if there's two of you there who can sit down and lift them off. Okay. It's just what we find when we get there. Right, come back and have a look at how it started out when we started to take it apart.
Yeah, because you were saying they only made 3 of these.
Yep.
And there's actually only 2
still in existence. One got scrapped. RW1 got scrapped, unfortunately. It suffered a fire, but it wasn't a bad fire, but Chesterfield decided that it just wasn't worth it. They loaned it out to another bus company who managed to
set it on
fire. Yeah. Right, this is how we received it, and we started taking it apart, and we found that all the cross members were all rotten. So it's all been replaced. The back seat was taken out and the back fell off. So all this wood here has been replaced.
Okay.
This front end is fiberglass. So some fiberglass was fabricated here, and all the panels along the side have all been replaced, and all the down struts where they needed to be done have been done.
When were these pictures taken?
This was taken...
2010?
Yep, 2010.
I just saw that. So in the space of 11 years from that, has it been in your ownership, that whole duration?
It has. It actually took 18 months from start to finish. It was a massive effort to get it done.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to August.
Yes, well,
Lockdown will have ended.
yeah. And come back and see it in the garage.
This is the next video. I've got a series of bus videos. So shall we have a quick look at the RF?
Let's go and have a look.
See what you've done, if anything, but it's certainly roadworthy, isn't it? Because you're
Was out last time with it, and we decided, well, this one is still off the road.
Yep.
We'd keep that one going for a little bit longer.
Okay.
So yeah, come and have a look.
And you've got your conductor ready to show us.
Yeah,
this.
we're going to show you another feature of London Transport that London Transport's well known for, which was actually both central area and country area,
Okay.
and lasted a span of, well into the 80s, from the 1950s, from the original prototypes, and that's the Gibson ticket machine. So let's go and find our conductor. Come on board.
This is all too familiar. Remember that? Shillings and pence.
Right, well, what's happened since last time? I mean, all the aluminium's been polished up. It was looking a bit sad for itself. Okay. So all the seats have been polished up to match the new seat area. But as I say, we've been concentrating on other vehicles. So as soon as we get those on the road, this is coming off for all the wreck scene to be done, as mentioned earlier in the last video.
But there was no need for it to be taken off the road, though. It's still completely operational.
No. The plan was that we would work with the RW, get that on the road, and then take this off and use that for our rallying season.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, we've just started up a new organisation called Green Rovers, folks.
Oh, lovely. Have you got a website for that, have you?
It's going to be, a website's going to be done fairly shortly.
Okay.
But the way to get hold of information is on a website called Ian's Bus Stop, and many of you will be familiar with that.
Okay.
So a lot of it is being done through Ian's Bus Stop.
I will put a link to Ian's Bus Stop in the description below.
The idea of that is that we will run them, but we used to do running days where everybody could come on, general public, which is fine.
Yeah, sure.
But we wanted to do something a bit more specific for the enthusiast.
Okay.
So you will join the Green Rovers Club, and we will do 6 events a year at specific locations, run the buses over routes that they never ran or don't run over now, to the 1960s timetable specifically for it.
And there's quite a few buses, isn't there?
There is quite a few buses in the group, so you know we've got the RW, the GSs, the RFs.
Although this is yours and you drive it, it's not a PSV vehicle. You don't have a license for it, so you can't actually take people's money.
That's correct.
Otherwise, you're infringing some kind of legal status. But you can take people on board
For free.
For free.
Yeah. Okay. What I'm going to show you now is the Gibson ticket machine. This is the box it comes in, and this man is well stocked with equipment. This would be, and I don't know if you can see it.
Or something.
Yeah, it's a hole punch for the reserved tickets. I'm looking to see if he's got the reserved tickets here, but I don't think he's got them with him at the moment. Can you see the London Transport stamped on that?
Yeah, keep still. There we go. Yeah, A194.
Yeah. These hole punches were used with the reserve tickets in case the Gibson ticket machine didn't work. And like a good conductor, he's got his cleaning brush for cleaning off the debris from the tickets, and also he's got his timetable in there, dated 1965.
This is like straight out of a museum, isn't it? These, if you run out, where do you restock?
We can't now. We're basically on reserve stock at the moment.
I suppose it would be going to some specialist company.
It would be to have them made up, yeah. But it's not just a roll of paper. This is a specific paper that was used so that it doesn't gum up the ticket machine. Right, what you see here is a typical conductor's uniform and a typical Gibson ticket machine. This would have been a 1980s version, but it's exactly the same as a country era one of 1960s, late 1950s, and would have been used on the routemasters in London during the early 80s, mid 80s onwards as well, before they phased them out. You see he's got a nice harness here. This machine is not light. I can tell you now, working with this all day, running up and down the stairs on a double decker, it ain't light.
No.
So it needs to be comfortable. It needs to have, the straps have to be very robust, because you're jumping about everywhere, and it has to be fairly tight. It's worn like a bit like a glove. And it became part of the integral part of the conductor's thing. You can also see, which I think is a nice feature here, is the conductor's pocket where he'd keep all his change. Okay. It's a totally equipped collection machine, basically, for London Transport, and it's even got in here his country bus map to show passengers, you know, alternative ways of getting to places. It would have been very knowledgeable. The rule book here, so that the rules were kept to. The rule book also fitted up in here as well, one-man operation.
But that's not for the public to read.
No, it's not for the public to read, but maybe need to be so. You can see the conductor's number here as well, which is one that would have been typical of the time, and the nice Griffin London Transport motif buttons on the jacket. There's integrated with a driver, especially when it was a double-decker, of course, the driver was in his cab. So it was up to the conductor to control the bus. Okay. So the conductor would say how many passengers were coming on, when the bus would leave the bus stop, when the bus would stop. Okay. And it would be down to him to keep the bus to time and the driver to inaugurate that time. Fabulous. Yeah, if we could just turn you around, we can see a bit more about the strapping at the back. You see, these strappings were, not a light feature. They were designed to last. Right, now we're going to demonstrate how they operated. So fire away, conductor. That's it. And he would have torn the ticket off and handed it. Shall we just show the ticket and show? This is a typical layout of a ticket. As you can see, in the 1960s, in the country area, this would have been different. It would have had a value in there. Yep. The K represents a value, but because of the difference in decimal money and the way that the more value is required, they change the mechanisms each side. But you can see the London Transport Board motif there, and this is the ticket issued number, so 4,888.
So there's an internal clock kind of counting.
Counting each ticket, released. And the conductor would have to account for that at the end of the day against the takings, and that's the route number. Yeah, so you can see that
there's always a monitor, isn't there?
Oh, there is always a monitor. LT records were fantastic in the sense they would know the mileage of the bus, where it went, what happened to it en route, and how many tickets were issued, how many passengers were on it, and all this was collated over a period of 50, 60 years. Thank you, conductor.
And this is the bus stop that you take with you for your
we're going to be taking with us for our Green Rovers days, and as you can see, the route number matches the little plate that sits on the side.
454. Is that the route number then, is it?
That's the route number.
Chipstead, Weald, Sevenoaks. How many of these would have been on the road at the time? That's because it's unique now. We don't see them at all.
No.
But I guess if they've got their routes planned.
If you think in the country area, it was part of country life. It was green, it blended in, it got people from A to B. People relied on it. There wasn't so many cars. But as it drew into the 80s, the whole thing changed and it became not so much more commercialised, but it became more of a split organisation, whereas LT was one organisation.
Tell me about how it was an integral part of society.
If you think it had a timetable, so some of the buses would run from Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday on the trunk routes. So people relied on that to get from A to B. But some of the buses that went out to the more rural locations, they may only go on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which would be market days, for instance, or they might go to various places for school.
So unlike this current day and age where you might have 3 or 4 cars per household, there was only, if a street of 20 houses, maybe 2 cars in the whole street. So there was a lot of people who didn't have any transport, right?
The buses used to stop at someone's house. They knew the people, so they'd stop outside, and in some cases they'd wait for the children. The children would be a bit late, but they'd wait for them, within reason, to pick them up. They knew.
Nowadays, you're racing for a bus and you see it going, you're like, no, please wait for me. And it might be a throwback to those olden days when the bus driver knew, oh, Mrs. Higgins from number 64, she usually gets the bus on a Tuesday to the market, but she's not there. Maybe she's just a bit late. I'll hang on a minute. She's bound to come out.
That's exactly right. That's exactly. But yes, it was an integral part of the countryside, and that I think allowed for it to be really unrecognised in some way. It blended in so well. People just expected the bus to turn up, and if it didn't turn up, there would have been a major reason why it didn't. These buses were kept on the road quite sophisticatedly with a range of spare parts and day-to-day operational scheduling for servicing and things like that. It was an integral part of the whole London transport scheme. That's why they were so interesting.
What have you got planned for it today then?
Right, today we're going to go to Benidorm we're going to pick up some fuel first.
Is it a rally, or are you just taking?
No, we're just going out. We're just going to go out today. So we're off to do a short tour around the countryside, really to give the bus a run. And the whole ethos of our organisation is to keep them running as a working museum.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, as long as we can, of course, as long as it's feasible. So Benidorm, and then we'll go to Rolvenden, and then we're going to go to Wittersham, and then into Tenterden.
Well, I think I might tag along, albeit in my car, because I can get some footage of the vehicle on the road, B footage, all that kind of stuff. Is that all right?
That's good.
Right, viewers, that's the end of the interview. Let's go and see what the bus is doing. this part of the video, I'm going to follow Colin. He's taking the bus on a run and he's going to numerous places, Worcestershire, Benenden, and he's getting some fuel at Tenterden, did he say? As well as ending up at hopefully Tenterden train station, which is an old steam railway. So various sections of footage of the bus billowing its clouds of smoke, but it needs a run, so we don't mind, do we? I'm just going to let the camera run and I'm just going to edit it as I require. Hopefully I'll be able to also get out at some spots and take some more B-roll. This is the wonderful Kent countryside, not quite the Weald of Kent. Yeah, this is probably a safer bet compared to the other road where we were on. Now, is it possible that this would be a regular sight in these countryside lanes? A little green bus driving through these single lanes on a summer's day with the sun streaming through the trees, casting shadows. We're being transported back in time by NLE 679. Take us back, people. So this is actually a nice sight, seeing an old bus coming through an old Kentish village with its green on the right there, telephone box, country pubs. An RF in its natural habitat. We'll go straight into Tenterden. High enough roof to fill the bus up.
The last street's out, folks.
Did you fill it up?
It's reasonably, I don't, you can't see it, but it's quite high. You see it?
Oh, wow. You must have had a lot in there then.
I had a fair amount, you know. Always keep it topped up, being a country location.
Wow.
You never know when you can get to a fuel station.
Oh, of course. Right, I will continue to follow you.
Okay.
What makes me wonder, because obviously I'm now following and we're doing a nice stately 25 miles an hour on these lanes. How frustrating is it for other motorists who perhaps have got somewhere they need to get to urgently and they're stuck behind a little bus going around the lanes? And I've been there, you know. It's like, oh come on, I've got to get to where I'm going really quickly, and now I'm stuck. Whereas today, I really don't mind. This is fun. Bit more. That's it. Ide Hill Cock, 413, Batten Ball, Sevenoaks. Where's the next stop, Mr. Driver?
Next stop is Wittersham, the pub that's closed called the Ewe and Lamb, which is the typical of this one, and then we're off to the Stocks, where the Stocks used to be. We'll do a reverse,
Okay.
so you get a good shot there, and then we'll come back.
So shall I head off first? Let me go, get into Wittersham, and then I'll see you arrive, yeah? I'm now at Wittersham, and this is called the Wittersham Stocks. So in its olden days, the villagers would have stocks somewhere on here. And Colin has informed me that he's just about to bring the bus up the Wittersham Lane and do a U-turn here, so this will be interesting to watch. Let's get a bit closer. We can hear that chugging diesel. Fares, please. And that is all she wrote.
Hello!
Is that the end of it?
That's the end of the road.
What a wonderful journey.
Great journey, wasn't it?
It was.
Lots of potholes though, very interesting.
We did say it. Let's end the video there. Thank you very much for taking me on a little journey there, and look forward to the next one,
Let's go
which
for the
will
next
be
one.
the other bus.
The other
maybe.
bus.
Great stuff. Right, take care.
Okay.
That was it. RF679 on its second outing. Really enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed watching that. Do feel free to give it a like and a subscribe. Now, as Colin has suggested, we might be doing a third video. So if you do a little subscribe, you'll get a notification as soon as the video is loaded up, which hopefully won't be too long because he said it's going out in August. So yeah. So thanks for watching, bearing with. Catch you in another video. Bye for now.